clicking the, I see you have flicked the appropriate buttons. Okay, let's do it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Township of Georgian Bay Planning Council meeting for Wednesday, September 14th, 2022. And I'd like to call this meeting to order at 9:05. Apologize for the delay, but there's been some connectivity issues, probably as a consequence of last night's power outage, but we'll get this meeting on the road. In the spirit of reconciliation, we wish to acknowledge the enduring relationship between the Indigenous peoples and the territories that they traditionally occupied. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic connection they have to this place. The land, the water, the sky, and all that live on, in, and above it. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this land and continue to care for it. And we want to show our respect. Hundreds of years after the first treaties were signed, they remain relevant today. They guide our decisions and our actions. We commit to learn, to educate, to honor sacred places, and to take action towards real truth and reconciliation. Make which. Councillors, any declarations of pecuniary interest in regards to the applications in front of us? Seeing none, let's go to the first motion of the morning, and that is moved by Councillor Rienko, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Council adopts the planning agenda of September 14th, 2022 as circulated. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I think we now have a full house of councillors. Glad everybody's able to finally connect. I know it's been tough. With
morning.
I'm now going to go into our Municipal Act public meetings. This morning, there's a public meeting scheduled for 2 Shore Road closing applications. I will briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for the meeting. First, the clerk will advise council as to when, how, and to whom notice of the public meeting was circulated for the proposed Shore Road closing being considered. Next, staff will advise the purpose and effect of the bylaw and provide any other information that is relevant to the applications, and staff will summarize any correspondence on file. From there, the public will have an opportunity to speak and to provide comments to the bylaw being considered. Please be respectful of time and be concise with your comments. All commentators are requested to state their name and address. Council will then have an opportunity to provide comments for clarification. I now declare this meeting to be a public meeting pursuant to Municipal Act of 2001 C25 as amended to deal with the following proposed Shore Road closing bylaws. R21-05 for 6480 Severn River Shore and R22-04 for 2237 Harrison Trail. To our clerk.
Notice of the public meeting was published in a newspaper, and notice was sent to the abutting neighbors in close proximity of the property at least 20 days prior to today's meeting.
Thank you. And with that, I believe we turn this over to Ms. Levesque to present our first application, and that being R21-05 for 6480 Severn River Shore. Ms. Levesque.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to share my presentation. Just one moment. Okay, so this morning's first application is R21-05 for 6480 Severn River Shore. This application was first presented at the September 15th, 2021 Planning Council meeting. During this meeting, the applicant identified issues with the proposed reference plan regarding the neighbor's dock encroachment. Since then, the reference plan has been updated and Part 1 has been revised to exclude the location of the existing dock. The Shore Road allowance has been requested by the applicants to construct a new dock. The Shore Road allowance for Part 1 is 1,408 square meters at a cost of $8 per square meter for a purchase price of $11,264 plus HST. The property is zoned shoreline residential type 1, and there are no building permits on file. We have a location map of the subject lands. Just a zoomed out version. This property is located on the Severn River. And this is just some aerial images. And the reference plan. So I'm just going to zoom in here just so you can see. Oops, there we go. So this triangle piece is what was excluded. You'll see on the next slide the actual registered plan. But you'll see here, this is where the dock encroachment was. And this is now part 2. So this part 2 can, the neighboring property can purchase this, but Mrs. Dunn is just purchasing part 1. So I'm just going to stop sharing, and Amanda Dunn is present this morning. So if you have any questions for the applicant, I'm just going to pull Amanda over.
Ms. Dunn, welcome.
Thank you.
Wonder if you had any additional comments you wish to make with regards to this application.
No, I'm just looking forward to it. This has been 5 years in the works. So just looking forward to getting this all sorted out so that we can apply for our building permit.
Thank you. Are we aware of any members of the public that want to speak to this? No, okay. Well, then I will turn it over to council if there are any questions that you have, and we'll start with Councillor Jarvis, followed by Councillor Cooper, please.
Yeah, I just a quick question, Sydney. With a now part 2 existing and available for purchase by the neighbors, if the neighbors choose not to purchase it, what happens with that piece of land? Just stays as is?
Through your worship to Councillor Jarvis, that's correct. So if the neighbors choose not to purchase it, it's just the township's land. So it just stays as is.
Okay, and is there, I guess, is there a possibility that our applicant here could decide at some point to purchase that part 2?
Potentially. So if the dock is demolished and then rebuilt in another location, there could be potential for either applicant.
So
to
they aren't,
repurchase.
isn't ruled out, in other words. Okay. Thank you.
Just to respond to that, I believe that our neighbor would be very interested in purchasing it when he purchases the other part.
All right, thank you. Councillor Cooper, please.
Thank you, Sydney, for the report. I just have a quick question. I was under the impression that you had to buy shore road allowance if you had a structure that you were trying to put on or validate, I guess, but this is a dock. And I thought we were changing our language around that. Have we not fixed that yet? Could you please comment? Thank you.
Ms. Way, I see you volunteering.
People, if the dock is required, they have the right to purchase the land if they want to. If they're unable to purchase land for one reason or another, we can issue a license of occupation for the dock.
So we've changed our practices, is that correct?
Yes.
This is excellent news. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wienkel, please.
The neighbor's dock on that part 2, according to the survey here, that dock is on part 2, which is now township land. Do they need a license of occupation having a dock on our township property?
Through your worship to Councillor Wienko, not unless they're going to replace the dock. So there's no license of occupation required for the existing dock.
But we carry the liability, don't we, over that dock, since it's on our property? There's no liability issue here?
Through your worship to Councillor Bianco, there technically is a potential liability issue, but there's lots of docks on municipally owned shore road allowance, and it would just be impossible to issue license of occupations for every single one. So we're only evaluating them if they're applying for new building permits. So if the applicant, so the neighboring property, if they were to apply for a new building permit, they would have to either purchase the shore road allowance or they would have to go into a license of occupation agreement with the township.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Douglas, followed by Councillor Cooper for a second round.
Just to follow up on Councillor Bianco's question. So that dock becomes a public dock then, and anyone can use it if it's on township land?
Through your worship to Councillor Douglas, no, it's technically still a private dock. I mean, if we get into the particulars, technically anyone can access a municipally owned shore road allowance, but I guess.
Yeah, okay.
You have me stumped there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of a gray area, but it sounds like if somebody is using that particular dock on an ongoing basis, it would seem to me that that is something that we should be looking at from a legal perspective. Just my opinion.
Yeah, but I think as it's already been observed, we have all through our township, many a situation where a shorefront residence does not own the shoreline allowance, and yet they may have their cottage on it, they may have their docks on it, they may have a boathouse on it, and that has fortunately rarely been a legal liability or trespassing issue. It's just sort of the way the history has unfolded over the last, what, 150 years.
Yeah, understood. And yes, you are correct on that. Yep, agreed. Yep, thank you.
Councillor Cooper, you have an additional remark or question? Or
There you go. I just wanted to put my hand down. The dock comes under, if you talk to an insurance person, comes under the care, custody, and control of the owner of the dock and the neighboring property. So I don't see any liability here. I'm just saying that I have consulted on that from an insurance perspective, and I think a legal perspective would reinforce that. So it's the adjacent property owner, not the township, that takes ownership or takes responsibility for the care, custody, and control. Anybody can land on shore road allowance if they have an emergency or whatever. They can't stay there, have a picnic or put up a tent. But sure, for safety reasons, shore road allowance is partly there to allow people to pull in if need be. But it is under the care, custody, and control of the adjacent property owner. That is my understanding, and I don't even think we need to get an opinion on that. We already know that there's tons of them out there, and there's never been any indication that there's a problem with that. So thank you.
the only additional comment I want to make before I read the motion is that I appreciate Ms. Dunn working with the township and the neighbor to come up with this resolution to this issue of the neighbor's dock encroaching on what otherwise would have been her shore road allowance. So I think this is, I love to see these situations where neighbors cooperate and make something work best for everyone. And with the unique geography that we have throughout much of our township, there are opportunities for neighbors to get along with each other and make things work, and it's good to see when that happens. With that comment, I have moved by Councillor Jarvis, seconded by Councillor Hazelton. Be it resolved that Council pass the closing bylaw 2022-077 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance in front of Lot 7, Concession 10, Baxter, and Part Lot 14, M43, shown as road allowance designated as Part 1 on 35R-26852, now in the Township of Georgian Bay, 6480 Severn River Shore, for the purchase price of $11,264 plus HST. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Dunn.
Thank you very much.
Our second Shore Road allowance is in regard to 2237 Harrison Trail. Ms. Levesque, over to you, please.
Okay, so the next Shore Road Allowance applications for 2237 Harrison Trail. The Shore Road Allowance has been requested by the applicants to allow for future development. The Shore Road Allowance for Part 1 is 805 square meters at a cost of $12 per square meter for a purchase price of $9,660 plus HST. The property is zoned shoreline residential type 1, and there are no building permits on file. Just a location map of the subject lands. This property is located on 12 Mile Bay. There is an aerial image as well. And the site sketch, which I'll just zoom in. You can see part of, it's a little bit blurry here, but you can see that part of their existing dwelling is located on the Shore Road Allowance. And this is Part 1 as well. So this is what they'll be purchasing. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and then bring over the applicants. So Stephen James, as well as Cheryl-Graden are present this morning if you have any questions for them.
All right, thank you. So, Ms. Graden, Mr. James, wondering if you have any additional comments you'd like to make to what our deputy clerk has made in her presentation?
I was just going to say, and I hope you can hear me. If you can't, let me know. I was just going to say, we're just looking forward to having this piece and rebuilding the docks and potentially fixing up the house. Just this is important purchase for our family, and looking forward to being a part of the community.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions or concerns with regard to this application? Councillor Cooper, please.
Thank you, and thank you for the report again, Sydney. I'm certainly in support of this sale, particularly considering there's a structure on the Shore Road Allowance. Just a quick question with respect to the calculation of Shore Road Allowance. And I noted there's a showing a shore line that it was from January of 2022. And then we see the high water mark, which is further in. I hope we're selling the land that we can sell, which is the shore, high water mark and in. Is that correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Cooper, that's correct. We only sell 20 meters back from the watermark. So we're only selling 20 meters of depth.
But from the high water mark was my question.
This survey, yes, from the high water mark.
Thank you, I think. This survey, I'm not quite getting that one, but anyway, why did you make that comment, please?
This survey that was done by the surveyor was measured from the high water mark.
We'll deal with that another time. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Jarvis.
I'm going to just follow up on Councillor Cooper's comments, and I think that we should be stating in our reports and the recommendation that the property to be sold will be the lands, the SRA lands above the high water mark for future points of reference. You just make things clear for the rest of us as we look at these applications when they come in. Just a comment there, Sydney.
Noted, thank you.
I'm seeing no other hands raised. I have moved by Councillor Hazelton, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Be it resolved that council pass the closing bylaw 2022-078 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original Shore Road allowance in front of lot 57, concession 10, designated as Part 1, 35R-26846, formerly Township of Freeman, now in the Township of Georgian Bay, 2237 Harrison Trail, for the purchase price of $9,660 plus HST. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And that ends the Municipal Act public meeting portion of our programming this morning. We have no Planning Act public meetings scheduled for this morning. And so therefore, we're going to go in the Planning Act application staff reports, which means I don't have to read the usual speech for a public meeting. And so the first Planning Act application staff report we have is the zoning bylaw amendment Z22-03 for 8006 Island 1810. And I believe Ms. Bradford, you'll be making this presentation. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'll be walking you through application Z2203. I'm going to share my screen here with you all. Can everyone see okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. So this application is for the removal of the H2 holding symbol on the property located at 8006 Island 1810 to facilitate the construction of a cottage and a sleeping cabin. Removal of the H2 symbol requires the completion of a plan of survey to confirm the lot area above the specified contour and to confirm the location of the high water mark. Based on the review of the applicable planning policies, staff recommend the approval of the application on the basis that the applicant has met the preconditions to remove the hold symbol on the subject lands. The subject property is located along the shoreline of Georgian Bay and is water access only. It has a lot area of approximately 1.09 hectares and a frontage of approximately 174 meters along the shoreline. Aerial review of the subject property suggests that it is currently a treed lot occupied by natural vegetation. The applicant has stated in the application that the subject property is vacant and the surrounding properties appear to be occupied by detached residential dwellings and cottages as well as natural dense vegetation. The subject property is located on rural lands as defined in the provincial policy statement. The PPS states that residential development is permitted on rural lands and that it should be promoted. The applicant is proposing to remove the holding provision to allow for future proposed residential development comprising of a cottage and a sleeping cabin. As such, the applicant is consistent with the relevant policies detailed in the PPS. The subject property is designated as a waterfront area in the district official plan. Permitted uses include low-density, single-unit recreational dwellings and limited year-round, low-density, single-unit residential development. As such, the future proposed uses are permitted on the subject property. The subject property is also identified as a Muskoka Heritage Area and Site. It's not currently identified as a natural area of significance, but any future proposed development will be further assessed at the site plan stage. Lastly, the subject property is identified as having moderate to high archaeological potential and abuts a cold water lake. Staff may request impact assessments at the site plan stage at the time when development is proposed. The subject property is designated as waterfront in the township's official plan and is located within the Cognishing Coastal Waterfront community. It is identified as a Muskoka Heritage Area and is adjacent to both Type 1 and Type 2 fish habitat. The policies with respect to development in waterfront designated areas and in the Cognishing Coastal Waterfront community permit low-density detached residential development. Site plan control will be required for any proposed development on the subject property, as well as an impact assessment and fish habitat assessment to address the Muskoka heritage and fish habitat areas. The subject property is zoned Shoreline Residential Island Type 7, SRI 7, with a hold H2 provision applied. A survey was completed confirming the lot area and high water mark, the 177.4 contour on the lot. The minimum required lot area for property zoned SRI 7 is 10,000 meters squared. The existing lot area is 10,939 meters squared and is in compliance. The minimum lot frontage in SRI 7 zone is 180 meters. The existing lot frontage is approximately 174 meters. However, the lot represents an existing lot of record, and as such, the lot frontage deficiencies will not be addressed at this time. Here's a copy of the survey that the applicant provided, showing the contour, and you can see where the frontage is measured. Here are some site photos that staff took. You can see the shoreline abutting the subject property here, the shoreline on the left side of the front of the subject property, and then the right side lot line showing the neighboring property and some development there as well. So based on the review of the applicable planning policies, staff recommend the approval of the application on the basis that the applicant has met the preconditions to remove the H symbol on the subject lands. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Are the applicants present? I believe it's, yeah, okay, we've moved them over. Good morning, Ms. Bezpiatko. I hope I got that close to the right pronunciation. Wonder if you had any additional comments you'd like to make. You are muted. ma'am. Sorry, you were muted, but I saw a smile, so maybe you were suggesting you had no additional comments?
Oh, here.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm,
now we go.
I'm sorry about, okay, I found the proper button. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I don't have any additional comments. We just would like to be part of your community. We love the area, we like everything about it. So it's up to you if you let us be the part of your community.
All right, thank you very much. Do you know if there are any members of the public who have any comments they wish to make? Ms. Way, or were you aware of any? None. Okay, then we'll go to Mr. Jarvis, followed by Councillor Cooper, please. Sorry, Councillor Jarvis.
Thank you. Just in light of changes to the Planning Act, I presume if we so choose at the site plan stage, we could request further reports as needed. Is that correct? I think, Greg, you're the best one to answer that.
Perhaps I'll go to Mr. Cadet,
Sure.
the professional planner.
Yeah.
I figure she wanted to answer because she's unmuted.
Yes, through you, your worship, to Councillor Jarvis, that is correct. As we discussed earlier in the week, we're looking to clean up some of the language, but we are confident that we can ask for studies during site plan at this time.
Thank you.
Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, and thank you for the report, Ali. Much appreciated. I'm going to make a few comments here, and I want you to understand this is no reflection on your report, but more related to predetermined practices that I think are ill-advised, and I want to have them recorded publicly because of that. And why I say ill-advised is that I see that, for example, we haven't had a site evaluation report. Is that correct? Ally?
Through you, your worship, to Councillor Cooper, that is correct. That's my understanding, yes.
So that's sort of the first step in other studies that need to be done. And so we're really shooting in the dark here. And while I want to see this family be able to develop this property, I am very concerned about our practices, and I'm identifying that here. We've heard from one legal opinion.
Councillor Cooper,
I'm not finished, Mayor.
Yet I am controlling this meeting and I get to make a comment if I need to. And I want to remind you that they're making an application on the current regulations. I will allow you to make a statement, but I'd like it to be brief because you're going to, I believe, state how you believe things should be in the future, not how they are now.
It could be like this right away. That's why I'm making my statements. I'm saying there's some issues here, and we could today put in a site-specific bylaw to ensure that we see what we need to see. And we're not doing that, or I'm going to suggest that we do that, and that's why I wanted to speak about this. Is there any reason that we can't hear that?
This is not an application for a bylaw amendment,
But
other than the lifting of the hold.
and we could attach with that lifting of a hold a bylaw amendment. Could we not?
Ms. Cadet, I see you're shaking your head.
We'd have to issue a new public notice if we were changing the application.
So we could defer it and do that. So that's one thing that we could do. And I'm just wanting to point out that while we have a legal opinion that states that we can use site bylaws, site plans, we know what site plans do, and it's not dealing with environmental studies. And so we are going to be at risk, and we have seen a huge amount of case law and decisions from Superior Court, the OMB, the OLT, that tell us our practices are faulty. And I want to make that very clear. I'm concerned about it. I'm sorry, but I can't support this application today because of those reasons. There's a financial risk for the township, and we may end up in court. Thank you.
CEO Mariotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Coetzee. I just want to clarify the point. It is not just one legal opinion that we've received. It was the legal opinion from Georgian Bay Township that are lawyers. These are lawyers that we have asked to provide a legal opinion based on other opinions and notes and legal opinions that were informally provided to the township. So just want to clarify, it was a legal opinion given to us enclosed by township lawyers. And I really want to comment on the liability issues were we not to go ahead with this.
Thank you. Any other comments from any other councillors? Seeing none, I have moved by Councillor Douglas and seconded by Councillor Jarvis.
Recorded vote, please, Mayor.
Sorry,
Recorded vote, please.
Ms. Way, will you take a recorded vote after I read the motion?
Yes, Your Worship.
Be it resolved that Council receives Development Services Report 2022-46 and enacts bylaw 2022-079, being a zoning bylaw amendment Z22-03 to lift a holding H2 symbol on lands located at 8006 Island 1810. Ms. Way, could you call the vote, please?
Let the record show that Councillor Cooper has requested a recorded vote. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote? Sorry, Councillor Cooper, I need to hear your response.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry, but no, I can't support it.
Councillor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes, I support it.
Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Wienko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Bocek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Kutsier, how do you vote?
Yes,
Let the record show the motion carries 5-2.
thank you. Ms. Bezpiatko, you have your hand raised.
I'm sorry, my husband will ask the question.
We didn't understand, sorry, it's Oleg. We didn't understood what type of a study Mr. Cooper was referring to.
I think what Councillor Cooper was referring to was getting an environmental impact assessment or a study done to determine what studies should be required to basically to make sure that anything you construct would minimize environmental impact.
Okay, got it. Because like I said,
Is that a fair
something else.
summation, Councillor Cooper?
In advance of lifting a hold, yes, thank you.
Because we already did the environmental study, just waiting for a report.
Just to clarify, there are all sorts of studies that may be required in that's not showing in the report. Thank you.
Okay. So the hold has now been lifted, and the majority of council is voted in favor. And so thank you very much for your application. And we will entrust you and staff to work together to do the necessary assessments. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Our next zoning bylaw amendment application is Z22-07 for, sorry, lots K and KK Island 139. Ms. Gatzos, I believe you're making this presentation.
Yes. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I just know static in my voice,
yes,
or there's something going. 1 second. I thought this would be an issue. Let me check.
Wow, that's like something out of Star Trek.
Dead battery and a microphone headset.
Hopefully we can get that straightened out fairly quickly. You are muted.
So many issues this morning. I
Oh,
apologize.
that sounds much better.
I switched computers with my colleague Ali. She's just right beside me, so that worked out perfectly. Just want to confirm everyone can see my screen correctly.
Not yet.
Okay, 1 second. All right, are we good to go, everyone?
We are, thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So here today, I'm bringing forward again zoning bylaw amendment Z2207 for Island 139 parts lots K and K, which is a whole 2 lift removal. The applicant is Beth Johnstone. The agent is Ula and Associates. And once again, the address is Island 139 part lots K and KK. An overview of this application is that the application is for the removal of an H2 symbol. The removal of the H2 requires completion of a survey to confirm the lot area above the specified contour and location of the high water mark. And it is the staff recommendation that the Township of Georgian Bay Planning Council grant approval to the zoning bylaw amendment application. Once again, here we can see the property. The subject property, oops, sorry, I cannot see my notes. Sorry, having some issues. The subject, oh my goodness, sorry. It's not my computer, not really used to it, so I apologize. The subject property is a water access only property and has an area of approximately 2.39 hectares and a frontage of approximately 170 meters shoreline facing. Aerial review of the subject property suggests that it is currently a treed lot occupied by natural vegetation, including a rocky outcrop towards the water. The survey provided indicates that there is currently 2 sheds, a septic system, and a dock on the subject lands. As per the provincial policy statement, the lands are classified as rural. As per the the district official plan, The lands are classified as waterfront property. They abut a cold water lake, and there is moderate to high archaeological potential present at the site. In terms of the Township of Georgian Bay official plan, the property is classified as waterfront. It is within the Cognoscing coastal waterfront community, and the subject property abuts type 1 fish habitat and type 2 fish habitat. As per the township zoning bylaw, the property is zoned shoreline residential island type 7, SRI 7 with the H2 symbol. Upon analysis, it was determined that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement as residential development is permitted in the rural lands. The applicant intends to develop the subject lands for a single family dwelling. The application also conforms to the district official plan. Future proposed uses are permitted in the waterfront designation, and the need to address the archaeological potential and setback to the cold water lake will be assessed at the site plan stage. Additionally, the proposal conforms to the township official plan. The proposed uses are permitted in the waterfront designation and the lands within the Cognoscing coastal waterfront community. Additional section F563 states that site plan control is a requirement. And additionally, section D166 states that a fish habitat assessment is required at the site plan stage to address fish habitat type 1 adjacent to the property. Just for council's knowledge, the applicant has since submitted a fish habitat assessment that is currently under peer review for the township's environmental consultants, and that is Hutchinson Environmental Services. Additionally, as per the zoning bylaw, a survey was submitted to fulfill the requirements of the hold symbol, showing that the lot area is 2.39 hectares and the lot frontage is approximately 170 meters. The subject property complies with the lot area requirements of the zoning bylaw and is an existing lot of record. Additional clarification is needed on the other structures on the property, the dock characteristics, height of the sheds, etc., which will be addressed at the site plan stage. Additionally, preliminary plans were submitted by the applicant for a single family dwelling. Staff note that the proposal currently does not comply with the zoning bylaw, and we do advise the applicant to revise their plans or address any deficiencies with the future zoning bylaw amendment or minor variance. As we can see here, here is the submitted survey showing the lot area and the 177.4 contour line. Additionally, this is a site plan submitted by the applicant, kind of showing the potential location of their proposed cottage. Here we can see site photos again. There's currently a dock on the subject property. It's my knowledge that Cody Avery, the Township Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Officer, is currently in conversations with the applicant regarding this existing dock. We can see it here again, rocky shoreline. This here is the rock outcrop indicated on the survey. Additionally, we see 2 sheds on the subject property. Staff recommend approval of this application on the basis that the applicant has met the precondition to remove the holding H2 symbol on the subject lands, which included the preparation and submission of a plan of survey. Thank you, everyone. Once again, where am I at? Let me stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, or if I'm out of answer, I will defer to Ms. Goddard. But please proceed.
Well, thank you very much. I'm wondering, I believe the applicants are present, and we wonder if we could bring them over to see if there was any additional comments. Ms. Ware, are you able to bring the applicants over? Good, I see it happening now.
They have to accept as well, so
Okay.
sometimes there's a delay.
All right. I'm wondering if any of those brought over, I see Is that Mr. Johnston or Mr. Paston? I'm not sure which one you are. And didn't know if you had any comments you wish to add. Oh, yeah, we can't hear you. Okay. Ms. Fiore, do you have some comments?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to go over the possible requirement for minor variance, as Catherine indicated during her presentation.
Okay, and can you please identify, are you connected with the applicants, or what's your connection?
Yes, I am connected. I'm an agent at Ouellette & Associates.
Okay.
Representing the Johnstones.
All right, thank you. And then if you don't mind repeating your question, I want to make sure it's clear, and then we'll get the right person to answer it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I just wanted to touch base on the minor variance requirement that Catherine indicated during her presentation. Just to go over the possible need for a minor variance as per the site plan that was submitted.
I don't know how carefully that has been reviewed at this point.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to address the agent, it's my understanding that, you know, the submitted site plan and associated drawings submitted originally, you know, this isn't an application for that specific design. Just a comment made earlier that the current design as is doesn't comply with our zoning bylaw for various reasons. That can obviously be dealt with at a later date, or revised plans can be submitted that do comply with our zoning bylaw. But further to that, that design was not analyzed as part of this application.
Okay. So as per conversations with the owners, Mr. Paskin and Ms. Johnstone, we are under the impression that they are looking to remove a large rock, and that should, we're under the impression that that should remediate that, and basically we won't need minor variance because we'll be able to move the cottage back further away from the setback. So I believe that is in the works. I'm not sure maybe if Mr. Paskin can speak to that, maybe to give an update on that removal of the rock.
Well, I think, I mean, I know he's had trouble with his mic, but I think that is actually not what's in front of us right now. And so I don't want to get too much into that discussion. But it's important that obviously anything you develop is in line with our bylaws, setbacks, environmental impact, and all that. And so that will require further discussion with staff and possibly further studies. Ms. Gatzos.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I know there have been pre-discussions with the applicant and Cody Avery, planning bylaw officer here at the Township of Georgian Bay, to discuss the rock blasting issue. The applicants have been made aware of the bylaw currently in place and the requirements needed to move forward with that potential. I'm under the impression that talks are still in development, but I'm not privy to those discussions at this time. But do know that the applicant is aware of the township's requirements for blasting, what they're permitted and permitted not to do, and the associated bylaw. Just wanted to bring that forward for council's knowledge.
I appreciate that. I just don't want us to get too distracted with discussions that are going to be subsequent to this meeting.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm now going to turn it over to council. I'm going to go Councillor Jarvis, followed by Councillor Cooper, please.
Yeah, once again, of course, we've had lots of discussions about lifting the H2 hold. I won't get into that. But I think our applicant should be aware that now, with the changes in the Planning Act, we can require further studies at the site plan stage. And in the planning discussions with the applicant, they should be well aware that other than also on top of the blasting, there is that the additional burden may be put on them. We don't know, of course. And finally, I do have concerns, and I know that our compliance officer is looking at this, but when I see people have already put in docks, septic systems, and sheds, it does concern me about ongoing and further development in relation to what our bylaws and our OP and the OP for the Cognition area also require. So I am very wary of this request.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
I think Ali wanted to, sorry, not Ali. It's that's what it says in front of you, Ali, but it's not Ali, it's Catherine, isn't it?
Yes.
I
Go
think
ahead,
you
Ms.
wanted to
Haskell.
say something. I'm glad to defer to you first.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Jarvis and Councillor Cooper. Just additional information provided. The septic system currently on the property is from the 1980s. Additionally, one of the sheds is is older. Was not put in by the applicant, but however, there is a newer shed and the dock that were put in by the applicant, just to provide some additional information for you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, and I'm going to say to Catherine, once again, my comments are not directed at you specifically, and I'm not going to repeat what I've already discussed with a couple of exceptions. One being that, while there has been a minor change in site plan ruling, there's A, no ruling on it, and B, it's very unspecific. So I think it needs to be, we need to remind ourselves of that. We still have serious legal implications by the actions that we're taking currently. I wanted just to say one other thing, and that is that I would just like to remind all of council that we state in various places, including our land acknowledgement statement when we started today, our strategic plan talks about protecting the environment. Same with the land acknowledgement statement. And my comment is that we need to start walking the talk. We're not doing that, in my opinion, at the moment. So I just want to remind us all of that, and I would like to see a recorded vote at the end of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelton.
Thank you. Ali, could you pull up a map and show us the FH1s that may be around this property?
Do you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hazelton? Yes, 1 second, please. Need to bring that back up. The fish habitat, as the fish habitat type 1, does front on the both ends of the property. 1 second, please. Yes. Where? Let me make this a little bigger for everyone. Again, not my computer, a little iffy today. Okay. Can everyone see the map currently on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Perfect. So as you can see, I'm trying to bring you all back up again. That's our chat. That is not for everyone. The fish habitat type 1 is fronting on both ends of the property. So it is currently fronting on the area where the dock is currently situated.
So the dock is whereabouts? Can you put your mouse on where the dock is right now?
The dock is approximately right here. So it is in the fish habitat type 1.
And it was not built with a permit? Is that what
No,
I'm
that is
getting?
correct. The dock was not built with a permit.
Okay. And did I hear you say that the impact assessment has been farmed out for peer review, but we don't have the peer review back yet?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
No, no.
All right. Any other comments? The motion in front of me is to lift a holding symbol, and that is being done under the current structure of our bylaws. And I want to just on it. Councilor Jarvis, you wanted to make it.
Yeah, I'm struggling a bit here, Mr. Mayor, and I'm hoping for some clarification, maybe from Catherine or Jen or our CAO or you or whoever wants to contribute. I'm very reluctant on this one because of the case where we've got unresolved issues over structures that shouldn't be there and studies that haven't been done that have been requested. Yet I understand that our own definition of lifting a hold is strictly the survey. So that's where I'm really thrown off here. And I know we've had the discussion about how we handle these lifting hold lifts. And this is one where I find it's going to be very difficult in my mind to approve it for those reasons. I can't see a resolution at the moment.
Does any of the named staff members wish to make a response before I go to Councillor Douglas for her comments? Ms. Gadet, step into the breach, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. My understanding is that dock is being looked at by our enforcement officer and can be forced to be removed. So I don't want to presuppose how that investigation will go, but it is on the radar of compliance.
Councilor Jarvis, follow up.
Yeah, I just follow up with that saying, okay, until we see resolution to current outstanding matters, i.e. the dock and the one newer structure and the information with regards to further studies that were requested, I'm going to be reluctant on this one.
My only caution for all council to consider, and I'm not telling you how you respond to it, but the request is a very, I'll call it narrow request about lifting a hold. It is not about getting approval to build further structures or a proposal to remove current structures, because that's part of ongoing discussions. That the actual request in front of us is simply to lift the hold, and the way the current bylaws are written, the lifting of the hold requires a survey to be presented that indicates the high water mark and the overall the frontage in the land area. So that I just make that observation, and then I'll go to Councillor Douglas, please.
Thank you. I think you've just answered my question, but I just wanted to reiterate that I think we have the lifting of the hold, and if we are in compliance of what that is required for the lifting of the hold, although I agree that we need to have things resolved, I think that is being handled, but I'm not so sure that if they are in compliance with the lifting of the hold requirements, I think that's what we're looking at today. And yes, I am struggling a little bit too with that, other than that is what we're being asked.
Councillor Cooper.
We also have the option to defer this until we get those answers to those questions, and I'm going to recommend that we consider a deferral until such time as we have all the information, not part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Boutiette, you want to jump in?
Through your worship, not speaking on this matter specific, but I know that in the past, when there are enforcement tools available to us, we shouldn't blend matters. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think Councillor Douglas summarized it perfectly, but we also have a written legal opinion that states the same thing, that when we do have enforcement tools that we could use, that we shouldn't hold up another process because of it.
Thank you.
I'm going to suggest a deferral.
You've made that recommendation. I was about to speak on the options in front of us. I can call for a vote on a deferral. And if I understand, Ms. Way, can you please confirm? I just want to make sure I understand the procedures. If I call for a vote on a deferral and it passes, then the item is deferred. If the motion on deferral fails, then I can call a motion on, I can call the original motion. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Bocek.
To that matter, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To that matter, can you tell me what the vote would need to be to pass a deferral?
I presume 4, or do
I
we need?
believe it's different for a deferral than a regular vote. Maybe we get clarity on that.
Ms. Way is looking it up just to be sure.
Mayor, can I just make a comment while we're waiting? Could I ask planning when you bring forward applications like this, the fish habitat zoning is really critical for us to be able to see in context of the application. And so thank you, Ali, for displaying it, but I think it should have been made as part of the application and would request that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Way.
Majority vote.
Majority.
So 4.
All right. At the recommendation and request of Councillor Cooper, I'm going to first call for all those in favor of a deferral. Did you want that recorded, Councillor Cooper, or just by hands?
Recorded, please.
Okay. Ms. Way, can we have a recorded vote on deferring this matter?
Let the record show that Councillor Cooper has requested a recorded vote on the call for deferral for draft bylaw 2022-080 for Island 139. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
In favor of a deferral, yes.
Councillor Douglas, how do you vote? Question is yes for a deferral or no for a deferral.
Sorry, muted. No.
Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote? Sorry, Councillor Hazelton, I need to hear you to confirm.
Sorry, yes, defer, please.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Wayanko, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Bocek, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mayor Kutsier, how do you vote?
Nay.
Let the record show the motion for deferral is defeated 3-4.
So now I'm going to call for the vote on the motion itself. I'll read it and then we'll call for the vote. And I know Councillor Cooper's requested it also is recorded. I have moved by Councillor Wienko, seconded by Councillor Bocek. Be it resolved that council enacts bylaw 2022-080, being a zoning bylaw amendment Z22-07 to lift a holding H2 symbol on lands legally described as Island 139, part lots K and KK, RP, on 35R10523, part 2 in Cognizine Coastal Waterfront Community. All those in favor, Ms. Way.
Let the record show that Councillor Cooper has requested a recorded vote. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of my community. The answer is no.
Counselor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Jarvis, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Rienko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Bocek, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Kutsier, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the motion is defeated, 3-4.
So as a consequence of this, the hold is not lifted.
Correct.
The hold remains. All right, thank you very much. And to the applicants, I believe this doesn't prevent you from making a subsequent application to lift the hold sometime in the future. And we'll go on to the next lift hold request in front of us for 2254 Quarry Island, or Island 404. And Ms. Gatzos, I believe you're presenting on behalf of the absent Mr. LeGros.
Yes, so I'm Catherine, currently showing as Ali, presenting for Adam. So it's a little confusing, but hope you'll be able to follow me. Okay, and I will. Can everyone see my screen correctly? Perfect, thank you everyone. I am here today to bring forward application Z2121 for 2254 Quarry Island, which is Island 404, on behalf of my colleague Adam LeGros. The applicant for this property is Singnong Wang. The address is 2254 Quarry Island, Georgian Bay. The overview of the application is to remove the H2 symbol currently on the property. This requires the completion of a survey confirming the location of the high water mark and lot area above it. It is the recommendation of planning staff to council that the Township of Georgian Bay Planning Council approve zoning bylaw amendment Z2121 to lift holding symbol H2 on the lands located at 2254 Quarry Island, Island 404. We can see here the subject property. Again, we can see that the subject property here in aerial imagery sketching it is a treed lot. As per the provincial policy statement, the lands are classified as rural. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement, which states that residential development is permitted on the rural lands. The applicant does intend to build a single family dwelling. As per the District of Muskoka official plan, the property is waterfront area. It is located in the karst topography region. Comments from the District of Muskoka have indicated that a karst topography assessment is not required as part of this application. Additionally, the property is located on the Coldwater Lake. It is identified as having moderate to high archaeological potential. And please note that future proposed uses are permitted in the waterfront and rural designations as the single family dwelling. It is our opinion that the proposed application conforms to the township official plan, which states that the property is within the Honey Harbor coastal waterfront community and abuts type 2 fish habitat. Proposed uses are permitted in the waterfront designated lands in the Honey Harbor coastal waterfront community. As per section F563, site plan control is required. Additionally, OP official plan policies do not require that a fish habitat impact assessment for lands adjacent to type 2 fish habitat. In the township zoning bylaw, the property is identified as being shoreline residential island type 1 SRI 1 zoning with the holding H2 symbol. This application does conform with the township bylaw, which states that a proposed dwelling appears to conform to the provisions within the bylaw, and that a submission of a survey has been submitted and satisfies the requirement to lift the H2 symbol. As we can see here, we have the survey, which states that the area above the high water mark is approximately 4,652.7 square meters. It has a frontage of 41.3 meters, and we can see here the 177.4 meter contour line. Here are some photos that were taken by Adam as part of the site visit, which showing the subject property from the water, the location of the proposed dwelling, and a view of the potential location of the proposed dwelling, which does show a current dock on the property. It is the recommendation of staff that council receives Development Services Report 2022-45 and enacts bylaw 2022-XX, being the zoning bylaw amendment Z2121, to lift the holding H2 symbol on the lands located at 2254 Quarry Island, Island 404. I will stop sharing my screen and will be available to answer any questions you may have regarding this application.
All right, thank you very much. I believe the applicant is present, and I'm wondering whether the applicant has any additional comments that you would like to make. To our applicant, are there any additional comments you would like to make? Not seen any response at this point. I will turn it over to council. Council. Any comments or questions? Councillor Jarvis, followed by Councillor Cooper, please.
Thank you. Catherine, once again, I'm looking at an overview that shows structures in place, dock and some land structures. Do we know what the age of those is, and is our compliance officer looking at them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Jarvis, I do not know the current age of the dock, but I do know that it was built without a building permit. Like the previous property discussed, our compliance officer, Cody Avery, with the planning department, is currently in talks with the property owner, and I can't speak on such matters, obviously, but if you have any other additional questions regarding the matter, I would direct them to him.
Okay, but once again, I think until some certain matters are taken care of, despite the fact that we have a very narrow understanding of the lifting of a hold, I am concerned about this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Catherine, for your report. And I'm going to ask if I could speak after Councillor Hazelton. It's his community. I'd like to hear from him first. I do have some concerns, but I'd like to defer to the local knowledge first and foremost. It's a value system that many of our councillors have raised but don't always follow. So let's see what happens here. Thank you, Al Hazelton.
Yes, Councillor Hazelton, I had seen your hand raised up before, so if you want to go ahead, and then we'll go back to Councillor Cooper, followed by Councillor Bocek.
Thank you, Mayor. Much of what I wanted to ask was already covered by Councillor Jarvis, and if my memory serves me correctly, this matter did come before us a while ago, and there were some issues that needed to be that needed enforcement to go out and deal with. And I would say that based on the communication that I get from all of the residents in my community, they want to make sure that policies are universally applied, and when somebody goes off and does things without approval, it upsets them, and then they feel that they're not being treated fairly. And so I think if I can kind of paraphrase Councillor Jarvis's concerns, I think we need to have the outstanding issues resolved before we entertain any new permissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
So based on that and my similar observations, I'm going to suggest that we defer this matter until we get more information. Thank you.
You. Councillor Bocheck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of questions. I don't know who I'm going to point them at, but it was said earlier in the meeting today that the lifting of a hold really does not depend on matters that can be dealt with by our zoning bylaw compliance officer. In other words, if we do lift the hold before any permits or any further movement forward on this property, Cody would, or the bylaw officer, would attend the property and deal with these things in a manner and straighten that out before any permits or any further permissions were given. Is my understanding correctly on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bocheck. Yes, your understanding is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Douglas. Sorry, Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. So this application seems to me that it's in compliance with what our requirements are with the H2 lifting now, under the parameters that we have in place. It seems to me it's the same as the last application. It was in compliance, but we still have some outstanding things that our bylaw is in. Anyways, I think that we're, again, in the same situation. We're crossing over, and until we get new parameters put in place, I'm not so sure that we don't put ourselves at risk of being non-complicit here. I don't know, but anyways, I'm just thought I'd point that out. It seems to me this is the same as the last case. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe you are correct, and based on the comments we've heard, that the similar concerns. And my concern at last case and this case is that if we're deferring or voting against an item that is unrelated that is a separate matter from the concerns that we have, we are potentially exposing ourselves to legal liability in that regard. And as frustrating as it is, I think that sometimes we have to respect the rules and respect the staff to pursue the other matters with appropriate diligence. Councillor Cooper.
I just wanted to add that while I respect your comments, I think it's important, and Councillor Douglas, I think it's important to remember that we could ask for a deferral here. In fact, I'm going to recommend that we have a deferral, just like the last one, and we get this taken care of. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure that a court would not find us negligent in any way, having not lifted a hold when we were still looking for more information to help us make that decision. So I am going to suggest that we defer this decision, and I would like a recorded vote on that as well. It's very similar to the last one.
Okay. All right, Ms. Way, we're keeping you busy. I'm going to suggest we have a call for a deferral and record that vote, and then depending upon that outcome, I may call for the regular motion and you record that vote if we get that far. Ms. Douglas. You've muted yourself.
Can we get a bit of a feel on how the council feels about this before we make votes? I mean, I understand what Councillor Cooper is saying and what I'm saying, and I think we're all a little bit torn on both of these particular files. Of course, I want to see things handled properly, but I also don't want to put us at risk. So I'm a little bit torn here on my decision. Could we get a bit of a feel for what the council feels prior for a vote? Is that possible?
Councillor Jarvis has already volunteered with his hand, and I see now Councillor Hazelton's hand.
Yeah, Councillor Douglas and fellow councillors, Mayor, I think that a deferral really does give sort of everybody an opportunity to get this sorted out, and at the same time, without significant delays, the possibility of the hold being lifted at a later date. Again, at this stage in time, of course, we're talking about another month out, but at least it's not a defeat, which would require significantly more paperwork. So I think a deferral, in my mind, is a better option.
Councillor Hazelton.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to, and I hope I don't ramble on this, but
I won't let you.
well, thank you. When it comes to decisions on this kind of thing, what motivates me is to try to represent my community and see what they would want me to do. And my community would not want me to support this kind of step in the process because we've already had a situation where we've got violations haven't been corrected. And why would we open the door for more activities to take place? So that's one focus that I have. The second focus that I have is we pretty much know from various sources that we have a defective bylaw that needs to be fixed. And so that's something that when the community understand the concerns about universally being treated fairly and people not getting away with things, so to speak. I just can't see how we, in effective representation of our community, could approve something like this. I'm not saying ever, I'm just saying, let's fix the issues that we know about. Let's make sure that the resident in question is being treated with the same fairness that the other residents are. And so I don't think that's the case if we approve this. And so I suggest that we either defer it or turn it down. Thank you.
Councillor Wojcik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there still time for a question of clarity on this, or are we simply debating the whether?
You can go for a question of clarity if you like.
To Ms. Gaudet, can you tell me if this application is from a new property owner, or was the property owner responsible for the development on the property as it sits today?
Thank you, Councillor Wojcik. I'll defer to my colleague, Ms. Gatzos.
To you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wojcik, is my understanding that the dock was put in by the current property owner.
Thank you.
I'll add my comment then. I don't see any other hands raised at the moment, and that is I'll vote the same way I did with the prior. I fully respect the I object to the term to call our bylaws defective. I'd rather think of our bylaws as having room for improvement, and that's one of the reasons why we're here and why we ask staff to make recommendations on how to improve those bylaws. And I fully respect the idea of fairness, but I also think we should be using the appropriate tools. And to me, having our bylaw officers follow up on these reports of construction without permits and things like that is the appropriate tool for people who have broken the existing bylaws. Failing to grant an H2, in my opinion, is not, failing to lift an H2 hold is not the appropriate tool to enforce bylaw infractions. And nor is failing to lift an H2 the proper way to vote in favor of improving our bylaws. So that's my take on it. It's maybe somewhat of a legal take, but I think it's an appropriate take, and it's also, I believe, in serving our residents. In that, I believe that if we don't respond with the right tools to the right questions, we give ourselves greater exposure to legal liability. So I plan on voting in the same direction as I did with the last vote.
Could I call for a deferral and recorded vote, please?
Certainly. So, Ms. Way, I think at this point, unless I see any other hands, you can jump in and record a deferral vote, please.
Let the record show that Councillor Cooper has requested a deferral vote for lift hold at 2254 Quarry Island, known as Island 404. This motion is yes for deferral or no against the deferral. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
I vote yes for deferral and support my community just like I did in the last vote. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Wayenko, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Bocek, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Kutsier, how do you vote?
No.
Let the record show the motion is defeated 3-4. The deferral does not pass.
Okay, I have a motion in front of me, moved by Councillor Bocek, seconded by Councillor Rianko. Be it resolved that the council receives Development Services Report 2022-68 and enacts bylaw 2022-080, being a zoning bylaw amendment Z21-21 to lift a holding H2 symbol on lands located at 2254 Quarry Island or Island 404. Councillor Cooper.
Recorded vote, please.
Ms. Way, over to you, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let the record show that Councillor Cooper has requested a recorded vote on permitting a lift hold for 2254 Quarry Island, known as Island 404. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
No, in support of consistency for my community. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
Once again, no.
Councillor Wayenko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Bocek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Kutsier, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the motion is carried 4-3.
All right, thank you very much. I believe we have no new business. And so the remaining motion in front of me is moved by Councillor Rianko, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Planning Council adopt bylaw 2022-082. I guess that should be 81, shouldn't it?
Yes, please.
To confirm the proceedings of the September 14th, 2022 council meeting. All those in favor? And that is carried. I have moved by Councillor Jarvis, seconded by Councillor Hazelton. Be it resolved that Planning Council is now adjourned at 10:33 p.m. until October 12th, 2022 at 9 a.m. for the call of the chair. All those in favor? And that is carried, and we are now adjourned. Thank you very much.